Hello everyone and welcome back to another Growing with God video. Today, we're going to try to answer the question, why do many men of God not raise godly children? So, if we look through the Bible, we'll notice some examples of people who didn't exactly raise godly children despite them being involved with God's ministry. For example, we see Eli in 1 Samuel chapter 3 that his sons were not exactly particularly righteous, and he was going to be judged for the lack of parenting that he did. And plus, we also see Samuel not having good sons as well in 1 Samuel chapter 8 verses 1 to 3, and King David also raised Absalom, who we know was unrighteous. But in this video, I'm going to try to explain why this is. And the first reason why I think this is because of the general nature of their job. Many prophets of the past, and even those today, usually travel a lot to do their spiritual work. For example, we even see St. Paul traveling a lot as well, across the Mediterranean to preach the gospel and to spread it. And many of today's pastors as well also travel to different places of the world to preach. But even for those men of God who do stay at home with their family, they still have a lot of spiritual duties to focus on. So the development of their kids sort of takes a backseat. So this is a big reason why this may happen. But another reason why men of God might not raise godly children is because Satan might want to target them. Now, why does Satan do this? Well, it's because he notices something potentially godly coming from the family and he doesn't like it. So he tries to use the children to sort of destabilize that family and cause them to rebel against God. And this is actually what happened with Jacob and Esau when Satan influenced Esau to destabilize the righteous family that was forming and cause a crisis inside of it, if we read Genesis chapter 25 verse 23. So it is very common for Satan to target people, which is why we should be vigilant and notice times when our children fall out of line if we have kids, and we should try to correct them. This is what it was meant by being vigilant in 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 8, which reads, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour." But another reason why some men of God might not raise godly children, as we may expect, is because of, marital issues. Because a prophet's wife can sometimes actually sabotage the prophet or pastor and raise children in the opposite way. We can see this with what Zipporah did to Moses' children when we never really heard them afterwards once Zipporah took them. And another great example of this kind of thing is what Satan did with Eve in Genesis chapter 3 when Satan deceived Eve to get her to do something wrong and destroy the godly nature of that couple. And then we see after that the rest of humanity was sort of ruined as a result. So this shows how Satan likes to target the weaker vessel to sort of destabilize God's plan. But one last reason why many men of God might not raise godly children is also societal pressure, because society puts a lot of pressure on spiritual families to break them apart, and if it's successful, they can even cut the children off from the influence of that spiritual man so that they are also raised differently. We see this in the Bible with all the people who lived during the days of Joshua and the elders who outlived them. They did what's right, but the children they raised weren't exactly as godly because of these societal pressures. We see this in Judges chapter 2 verses 7 to 10. But my advice for any men of God who are in the Lord's ministry who are trying to raise children is that we should take it very seriously, because that's what God wants us to do. Because God himself actually prioritizes the family over even ministry, as we can see in places like Mark chapter 7 verses 9 to 13 and 1 Timothy chapter 3 verses 1 to 5. So what he really wants you to do, it's not that preaching is bad, but God wants you to make sure that your children are righteous. Thus, if you refuse to raise your children properly and they start doing evil, then you are actually reproaching God and you are rubbishing the message, as you see in 2 Peter chapter 2 verse 2, which reads, "And many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of." But anyway, I'll stop there. If you have enjoyed this video, learned anything, I'll appreciate it if you hit those like and subscribe buttons down below, and also to hit that notification bell so you'll know when new Growing with God videos are released. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next one.